All right, well, we're with Nicki Behmer, candidate for the Airport Authority here in Lincoln. Nicki, thanks for joining us this morning. And we will just, for your benefit, we'll run around the horn. Ava Thomas is our president and publisher, and she's driving to a meeting, and so she's muted right now. So I'll introduce her so she can keep driving.
Hi, Nicki.
And
hi, Ava.
oh, there we go.
Nice to see you.
All right, John.
Yes, my name's John Schreier. I'm an assistant city editor here, and I've been on the editorial board about 4 years.
And
Hi,
he's in the
John.
middle of the newsroom, so that's why he's quietly talking. So.
Okay.
Kent?
I'm Kent Walgamot. I do the arts and entertainment stuff, and I've been on the editorial board for, I think, 12 years, maybe 13, something like that.
Nice to
Time
meet
flies
you.
when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Martha?
Good morning. My name is Martha Florence, and I'm a community member on the editorial board.
Hi, Martha.
Hi.
All right, so we do finish this up by 10:30. All right,
Okay.
so we'll just launch into these questions. The first one is, what prompted your decision to run for Airport Authority, and what has prepared you to serve?
Oh, wow. Do you want the short answer or the long answer? I
Well,
haven't.
we got 30 minutes.
Okay, I was going to say I have not perfected my elevator speech. I think that the long answer is probably I'm a realtor here in Lincoln, and so I obviously am all about the community, growing the community, making the community better. And I will admit that I was a huge critic of our airport. I travel a lot with my family for leisure travel. We're all about experiences, and so we do a lot with our kids, and my husband and I travel, and we always fly out of Omaha. And so I decided, I mean, I had read headlines, and Anna Wishart, bless her heart, she is, we worked together in the legislature when she was on the Airport Authority. The big thing was free coffee. And my snarky response was, I'll pay more for coffee. I want better flights. So I think over time, it was about a year ago, I think they had done a PR study, and I'll blame you guys for this. The headline that came out was, I think that free mints were one of the things that came out of the study. And I was just rolling my eyes. I posted the headline, and I'm like, that's not what we need. And people just commented on my post. Again, if you read the rest of the article, there were other things that came out of that. But I kind of stepped back a little bit and realized, as someone who loves this community and promotes it, I shouldn't be on my business page saying how great we are and then being snarky about our airport. I'm like, I really need to step up to the plate. I've worked in politics more as a public policy wonk. I really enjoyed the public policy side of it. And so I knew better than to complain about something and not actually try to make a difference. And that prompted me at that point in time to decide maybe I should try to see what I can do, learn the nuances, because I know, having worked in the legislature, that there are always those nuances. It's not that people aren't there trying, but there's usually barriers. So rather than just be a critic, I felt like I needed to learn more about how the airport operated, what was the relationship in the community. A lot of people were making comments too, just about the flights at our airport. And so I just felt like that was an opportunity maybe for me, if I'm going to be somebody who loves Lincoln, believes in Lincoln, wants to sell Lincoln and get people to move here, then I need to be a part of making it a better place too. So that was what prompted me to run. That was probably last March is when I had actually made the decision. And then after that, I had just started meeting with people. I learned a little bit. I had learned about the expansion that was coming. That was never a part of why I was running. I actually learned about that after I had made the decision to run. What makes me qualified? I think, again, I have a background in politics. I feel like understanding the nuances of how a public entity works and a private entity works is very beneficial. Just building those relationships, understanding, that there's funding mechanisms and how all those work, and just being involved on numerous boards in the community. So understanding, what the community here in Lincoln needs, and having some of those business relationships, I felt like all qualified me to serve on the board. Did I want to run? Absolutely not. Campaigning was not my big thing. I just wanted to be on the board, but unfortunately it comes with the territory. So
Okay, well,
sorry,
thanks.
that was a long answer.
That's all right, very complete. What do you think are the most important issues facing the airport authority right now?
Well, I think there's a stigma in the I would say with the leisure community, maybe even the business community. I just feel like we need some more community buy-in. I think there's some great members on the board right now trying to do great things. They've hired some people there to do some more outreach, and I feel like that's been a very positive thing that's just come about probably in maybe the last 6 months. But I feel like community buy-in has been the one thing that has really been lacking prior. Just being out in the community, trying to sell our airport. Maybe it's been with businesses, there's been more discussions going on, but the leisure community, families, I feel like there's a lot of families in my day-to-day world that I see that travel a lot with their kids now. And again, I feel like families are more about experiences anymore than things. And part of that is traveling. And so I feel like there just needs to be that other voice that we don't necessarily hear from all the time from the airport. And I think they're moving in that direction, but I definitely feel like I could add to that.
Okay. What short-term and long-term impacts of COVID do you think need to be taken into account when thinking about the airport?
So I might be the one who feels like there's some opportunities with COVID. I'm going to look at the positive, I think, that has come out of COVID. And this is in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't had any experience with the board yet, so this is just something I observe. I think that there's some opportunities to put Lincoln on the map, where before COVID, airports might not have considered Lincoln as much, where now I feel like we have a little bit more leverage. With that, I will also say the expansion, or the timing for the expansion, is perfect too, because while numbers are down, that's a perfect opportunity for them to be trying to work on the airport and expand it. So I think that there are going to be some good opportunities coming out of that from COVID. I don't see, obviously with numbers being down, but we also have other revenue streams. But I think that there might be some opportunities with airlines. And I think that once COVID, I think with the vaccine out, I think people are going to be itching to travel again. So I'm just seeing some opportunities here.
You said in the voter's guide that you absolutely support the airport project. Are there parts of the project that you think are more important than others? Is there anything in there you think that's been missed or misprioritized?
From everything that I understand of it up to this point, I've supported. I think they've done a good job of budgeting, having room for expansion. Again, other boards never utilize the property tax. So they sort of kick the can down the road, if you will. And because of that, I feel like the costs have now gone up. and now you need a big overhaul project, where I feel like right now this board is taking into consideration that costs are rising, so they're giving themselves a little buffer room there, so that they can have this tax, and I think hopefully sunset it. So far everyone I know is in support of sunsetting the tax, so I think that they've done a good job right now utilizing their resources and trying to make it something that will work for them, 25 years down the road or 50 years down the road, without having to continually use the levy.
I just want to jump in for 1 second and say
Yeah.
we've just been joined by Robin Eschleman. She's another one of our community members, former city council person. Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Welcome.
My apologies. I'm late coming back from a meeting.
That's okay.
All right. So Nicki, to ask a follow-up question on that, you mentioned that the timing for the project was good in terms of the work being done and traffic being down. The timing may be unfortunate to talk about a tax increase for people. How do you sell that to the community?
Well, I don't think the timing is ever right to talk about a tax increase, right? I mean, I get it. I'm a realtor. The last thing I want to do is increase property taxes. But having an understanding now, after meeting with the board and how the revenue streams work, their hands were really tied. There's no other way to do it. So that being said, I support the project, and a huge part of that is because we're a capital city. We need to have a great airport. We need to attract businesses. We know that airport has $1 billion impact on our local economy. So I feel like you're going to see the returns on that investment. I want to see businesses come here. I don't want to see businesses go to Omaha because our airport isn't sufficient. I want to see families here be able to travel out of Lincoln, and I want families that are looking to come to Lincoln, I want to be able to sell them on this community as a whole. So again, when you talk about the tax increase, I do feel like the community is going to see a benefit from that. Now, that being said, I very much support sunsetting that. I don't think we need to continue to collect those funds once the project is over.
You mentioned this a little bit. Travelers do shop around. Do you have any ideas for either marketing or policy changes that the airport might consider to help boost traffic and to help draw more flights?
So right now, again, I think they've, in the past, I would say 6 months, I think they've done a much better job about promoting the airport in general. Choosing Lincoln first, being able to go and compare some of those prices. I don't think people always take into account, when they go to Omaha, they might stay in a hotel overnight and then they pay for parking, or we even have people that choose Kansas City. So you're not factoring in the gas. I think there's a lot of things that people just don't immediately think about, if they even think of Lincoln first. So to maybe answer your question, I think community buy-in is going to be a huge part of that. It might be kind of a chicken and egg situation. We need to get the passengers there for airports to consider us, but we also have what is called a minimum revenue guarantee. And so that puts it on our airport really to put those startup costs for airlines to consider coming here in the first place. So it's very important that we have a relationship with the business community in that regards. I've learned a lot about the funding mechanism. So when you talk about a policy change, I don't know in terms of policy much that they can do, but in terms of promotion, I think they're working towards that. But again, I think that's part of something that I wanted to take on in this role is being out there and trying to promote Lincoln first. And I feel like the current not administration, but Dave Herring, who's the executive director out there. I mean, he has a job to do, and I feel like he could use the support of the board to have that community buy-in to help his job, to make his job easier. And so I'm not sure from a policy perspective what that looks like yet. Again, I think there's a lot to be learned moving forward, but I definitely think marketing and promotion, I think the board itself needs to buy into the airport, and I think we need the community support there also.
Okay, thanks. Kent came up with a smart question yesterday, and rather than take credit for it and ask it myself, I'll let Kent do that.
The airport manages all kinds of real estate out there. Everything from farm ground to, warehouses, everything else. Do you think is anything that needs to be done differently? Are they doing a decent job of that? Because that's a large part of the board's work is actually real estate management and not anything to do with the airplanes.
Yeah, and I think some of that's true. I mean, in terms of not the airplanes, but you're right about the real estate management. I think that currently, again, policy-wise, it's a little bit tough because you have the FAA involved when it comes to some of that property management out there. I know I've heard a lot of ideas from other people on what can be done, but again, with the property management side, I think it's being out there promoting it. I get that it's a huge part of what the board does, but I do feel that there's also some importance on the commercial side and making sure that the airport itself survives also for flights. I don't know if that answers your question, Kent.
I guess I was looking more about, do you think you can bring in more, tenants, so to speak, or is there anything that needs to be done? We've heard talk about maybe some roads need to be improved out there to make the commercial or the property management better, real estate, stuff like that.
Yeah, I have been in discussions with the current board on what some of their ideas have been with it. I can't honestly say that that's been an area that I have explored. That's not been my major focus of why I'm running. I think, again, promoting it and having relationships with the business community is important. Learning a little bit about what some of those regulations are too with the FAA. I think there's been some discussions that some things that they would like to take place, but I think that, again, hands are tied in certain areas. So I'll be honest, Kent, that's a little bit of a learning curve for me. I'm sorry if that doesn't answer your question completely, but I know where you're going with it.
No, I think that's just fine. Kent will be satisfied.
I hope I'm around for 6 more years for you to ask me more questions.
Well, I could always mess up this recording and we'd have to do it again, but
that's fine.
I have one question left that I'll save for the end, but I wanted to see if any of the editorial board members had any questions. It does not appear so. So the last question I have for you, Nicki, is what didn't we ask you about that you would like to make sure we know about you, about your thoughts about the airport, anything? It's a catch-all.
I think the catch-all for me is just I'm not going to come here pretending like I have a solution right off the bat for everything. Again, part of why I'm running is to learn the nuances of it, and I learned a lot in the past 2 months just after announcing and meeting with people. So I'm kind of getting to that stage where I'm coming up with ideas. But that's what I'm hoping to bring to the board is the energy to want to learn these things and figure out how it works and how can we make things better. So I want to have solutions, but part of that is learning the nuances of how it works, how the body is structured and how they work with businesses. And so that's probably the thing that I would add there is that, again, there's a lot I think that the public doesn't realize in terms of how it's structured and where the funds go and what they can do and what they can't do. And so learning, I had ideas and then you learn about how it actually works and that changes things a little bit. So now that I have a better understanding, again, it's going to be a work in progress to come up with solutions, but I'm willing to have those discussions.
All right. Well, thank you, Nicki. We appreciate your time this morning. We appreciate that you're taking the time to run for office. That's always an adventure, I'm sure.
An understatement.
Yeah, I'll bet. So with that, I believe we are concluded.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.